They say big data will lay the people closest to you bare, dragging their secrets into the light when you least expect it. That's how I stumbled onto Luke Gilbert's account, buried in some forgotten thread, trading over 10,000 replies with a woman he'd met online. Sweet words back and forth, confessions of the heart, a promise to watch Tokyo's first winter snowfall together, to finally meet in person. That thread was their secret hideaway. And me, his fiancée of 9 years, I never had a clue. I didn't cry. I didn't scream the way I once would have. I simply, calmly, ended the pregnancy and accepted the job offer in Canada. Luke came home from his business trip, so exhausted, he dropped straight into bed. While I unpacked his luggage, I found a receipt for a YSL lipstick. He'd never understood cosmetics. He'd never once bought me any. I thought maybe something had finally clicked in him, and I couldn't help wondering what shade this clueless man had picked. Then a message lit up his phone. The sender was someone called Little Moon. I trusted him, so I almost never checked his phone without asking. But this time, as if some unseen hand were guiding me, I keyed in my own birthday to unlock it. Little Moon had sent him a string of voice messages. The moment I tapped one, a sweet, girlish voice came pouring out. "Sunshine, I don't think this shade really suits me. Will you come help me exchange it?" My hand jerked hard, and the room tilted around me. When I'd studied myself, I gripped the phone in a death hold and recorded a reply. "He's already asleep." The chat window, a moment ago full of cutesy stickers, went dead silent. I glanced at Luke, dead to the world, and still couldn't stop myself from scrolling through every message with this Little Moon. For years, I'd been the only pinned chat in his phone. Now this girl was up there too. Their conversations weren't exactly intimate. Nothing there I could point to and call wrong. But for some reason, today my chest wouldn't stop pounding. I was reaching for my own phone, helpless, ready to ask strangers online what I should do, when I scrolled right into a travel post with exactly 2 likes. In that thread, an account called Sunshine had racked up over 10,000 replies with the original poster, Little Moon. I recognized Sunshine as Luke in a single glance. His profile picture was still the photo I'd taken of him. Every word in that thread sank me, inch by inch, into a cold that reached the bone. Luke and this Little Moon had first crossed paths because they both loved extreme sports. On the anniversary of my mother's death, he told me he had something at the office and would be late. The truth was he'd lost track of time skiing in Tokyo with Little Moon. When I had my appendectomy, he said he was buried in developing a new product and couldn't make it back. The truth was he was climbing Mount Everest shoulder to shoulder with Little Moon. They were kindred spirits, shared passions, shared habits. Every single word in those 10,000 replies was the echo of 2 souls finding each other. And Luke and I had never once talked about what we truly loved, never spoken about anything beneath the surface. "You wouldn't understand. You'll never get it." Those were the words I'd heard from him more than any others. They even used matching couple usernames. Yet his account had never, to this day, followed mine. 9 years against 9 months. The comparison was a slap to the face. I crushed the bitterness rising in my throat and opened the detailed photos in the thread. The faces were blurred out, but I could still tell the man in them was Luke. Every place they checked into, they'd taken a close, intimate photo together. Like some form of self-torture, I zoomed in and out, again and again, trying to deny the love and the joy in Luke's face in those pictures. I failed. He'd never looked that at ease in any photo with me. Luke seemed to have slept his fill. He sat up, pulled me into his arms, his voice still rough and warm with sleep. "Baby, still packing after all this time?" His hand slid up under my shirt. I slipped out of his embrace, my face perfectly calm, and pointed at his phone. "Someone named Little Moon just sent you a whole bunch of messages." Luke froze. He let go of me without thinking, snatched up the phone, scanned it for a few seconds, his expression flickering and evasive. "She's the daughter of a client I met on the trip. This deal's pretty important, so I pinned the chat. Don't read into it. I twisted my lips into something like a smile and couldn't help the edge in my voice. And buying a client's daughter a YSL lipstick? Shame though. Apparently, it didn't really suit her. Luke's face went ugly in an instant. The app had already transcribed every voice message into text, and he'd seen my reply. He grabbed the phone, dialing as he bolted out the door, not even bothering to leave an excuse behind. Watching that cold, retreating back, I opened my phone and booked the procedure to end the pregnancy. My period had never come this month. I tested positive only that morning. I'd meant to wait for Luke to come home and surprise him with the news. Now there was no point. Luke and I had gone from school uniforms toward a wedding gown. I'd been with him for years by the time I helped him finish his PhD. He'd started the company in the first place because he wanted to marry me in style. I defied my parents to pull $2 million from my own dowry savings to carry him through the worst of it. Baby, half this company will be yours someday. You'll be the love I fight side by side with. Back then, Luke's eyes had reddened. He kissed me with something like devotion, and that night we wound around each other until we couldn't breathe. He swore he'd marry me the moment the company struck it big. I believed, then, that we'd love each other for the rest of our lives. But somewhere along the way, Luke was always too busy. He had to make more money first, then he'd marry me. How much money was enough money, though? And how many years of youth did I have left? Finally, a month ago, the 10th time I threatened to leave him, Luke pulled out a ring and proposed. It was simple, all of it, but I was happy anyway. I thought we'd finally come full circle. What I never realized was that Luke had been stalling on the proposal all those years not because he hadn't made enough money, but because someone else had walked into his life and made his heart race. In that moment, I understood it clearly. Luke and I weren't two souls in harmony, weren't a good match, and he was certainly not the man to spend the rest of my life with. That same night, I packed my things and moved back into my own place. When Chloe Walker heard, she was floored. All these years, it's been Luke, Luke, nothing but Luke in your eyes. Now you're finally about to make it to the altar, and you suddenly want to walk away? You can really let go of that. She'd always known how desperately I wanted to marry Luke. I pressed down the sting behind my eyes and said softly, 9 years. I'm tired. Luke's love had been tainted, and I no longer wanted to fight to keep him. A marriage that doesn't fit, better to stop it here. The next morning, I reached out to Luke Gilbert's other shareholders and arranged the transfer of my shares. On my way past, I stopped by the company to collect the things I'd left there long ago. What I didn't expect was to be stopped at the office door by a round-faced girl, bristling with righteous indignation. Office hours start at 9. Showing up now means you're late. And this is Mr. Gilbert's office. You can't just walk in. I rarely interfered with Luke's work, but everyone in the company knew I was the firm's other founder. Half of Luke's office had always belonged to me. Since when was I not even allowed inside? Theo Fox, the assistant standing nearby, hurried over to smooth things over. Vice President, please don't take offense. This is Lola Bennett, the secretary Mr. Gilbert hired recently. She doesn't know who you are. That's why she stopped you. Lola. Little Moon. The realization of who stood in front of me shifted something in my expression. At my words, Lola stuck out her tongue. So you're the legendary Vice President Big Sister. With that, she went bouncing into the office like a rabbit. Sunshine, the Vice President Big Sister, came to work, but her spot's already taken up by my stuff. Should I give it back? Inside, Luke was in the middle of a video conference. Interrupted like that, he didn't get angry at all. Instead, he gave a helpless little laugh. Why are you still so loud about everything? I've told you, an office isn't the great outdoors. Mind your manners. Lola immediately wrapped herself around his arm, voice dripping with affection. I didn't mean to. The way they leaned into each other, as if no one else existed, sent a sharp pain through my chest. I drew a deep breath and walked in. Sure enough, my spot was buried completely under Lola's collection of figurines. Yet years ago, when all I wanted was a single little doll on my desk, Luke had called me childish. Seeing me come in, Luke smoothly slid his arm out of Lola's hold. "Maya, what brings you here? You haven't come by in so long. Little Moon, Lola didn't have anywhere to sit, so I let her use your spot for now." I looked at him quietly. So he'd kept the other woman right under his own nose all along, while I, his fiancée, knew nothing. I said nothing. I simply swept everything off the desk that didn't belong to me. Lola's face shifted at that, but she quickly broke into a grin and added me on social media. "Vice President Big Sister, I'm Mr. Gilbert's personal secretary now. If you ever need anything, just come to me." With a probing curiosity, I accepted her request and opened Lola's feed. And what I saw made my pupils tremble. On my mother's death anniversary, when I'd stayed alone at the cemetery until late into the night, Lola had posted a photo of Tokyo Tower. "Met up with my online guy. He's so good looking. One look and you can tell he's my man." While I was simmering stomach-soothing porridge for Luke, Lola posted a photo of herself sleeping in a tent. Unlocked a new memory, spending the night on a mountaintop with the person I love. Honestly, so blissful. When I was doubled over in agony from appendicitis, lying on the operating table at the hospital, Lola posted a photo from the summit of Mount Everest. He says he feels lucky to have met someone who fits him so perfectly in this lifetime. Such a shame I came along a little too late. Something churned in my stomach, and the pain stole the breath from my lungs. None of these posts showed Luke's face. Anyone who didn't know would never connect them to him, but I knew exactly who she was talking about. Everything matched that forum thread. And Lola's most recent post read, "The man I love is about to get married. He says he owes her too much, so he has no choice but to marry her. He promised that before the wedding, he'd take me to Iceland first, for a wedding that belongs only to us. One last bit of madness." The photo showed two hands with fingers laced together, both wearing wedding bands. And that man's hand I recognized in a single glance. It was Luke's, because of the unmistakable scar across the web of his thumb. That scar came from the day a pane of glass had suddenly fallen in the school hallway and Luke had shielded me, the shards slicing his hand. Beneath the post, co-workers who knew nothing of the truth were actually mourning the tragedy of their love story. An employee I got along with secretly messaged me, "Vice President, are you really not going to do something about Lola? She's just a secretary, but she struts around like she owns the place." When Theo commented, knowingly being the other woman on her post, she went crying to Mr. Gilbert, and he actually took her side and chewed Theo out. I tugged weakly at the corner of my mouth and typed back, "There's nothing I can do." After all, this company would soon have nothing to do with me. Lola went out to make coffee, leaving only Luke and me in the office. He came over and wrapped his arms around me from behind, his voice low and intimate. "Baby, you haven't come to keep me company in so long. I've missed you." Back when the company had just been founded, we'd shared a single office. In the most passionate days of our relationship, we could never hold ourselves back. He pressed me against the one-way floor-to-ceiling window, pinned my hands to the glass, forced me to look out at the world below, telling me he'd love me for the rest of his life while moving against me with a fierce hunger. And I had never been able to resist his closeness, coaxed into it again and again, time after time. But this time, I reached out and pushed him away. Luke frowned. His gaze fell on Lola's desk, and understanding dawned on his face. "So you're upset?" When I didn't answer, he pulled me back into his arms. "Baby, don't read too much into it. She's the daughter of a business partner. She insisted on tagging along to inspect a project. I had no other option, so I gave her a secretary position. She's young, doesn't know any better. Don't stoop to her level." As he spoke, he gently stroked my ring finger, his tone tender. You know that in 10 more days, it's our wedding. I'll give you the grandest wedding, build a happy home with you. There'll be nothing between me and any other woman. The office heating was running, yet my hands grew colder and colder. The man in front of me suddenly felt terrifyingly like a stranger. If I hadn't seen those posts, I might have truly believed him and walked foolishly into that wedding hall, never knowing that the man making these promises was planning another wedding with another woman. I didn't answer. Once I packed my things, I walked straight out of the office. At the door, I nearly collided with Lola, who was coming back balancing a cup of coffee. "Sis, future VP, will you still be coming into work after this? Because if you're not, I won't bother tidying up your desk." I gave her a cold look. "I don't have a little sister like you. This is a company. Call me vice president. Basic professional courtesy. Did nobody ever teach you that?" Lola's face went through a quick cycle of green and white. She just realized I was the one who'd answered her message the day before. Something venomous flickered in her eyes, and then she simply flung the scalding coffee straight at me.